What if I told you that becoming a billionaire has almost nothing to do with intelligence, or education, or even luck? What if the real reason you're not rich yet is because you've been lied to about what it really takes? In this video, we break down the brutally honest lessons from a man who actually did it, not a guru, not a motivational speaker, but a real billionaire, Felix Dennis. He built a publishing empire worth over $500 million. And he tells the truth about wealth that almost no one dares to say out loud. Let's dive into the raw, unfiltered summary of How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis, packed with powerful lessons, real stories, and zero BS. Part 1. The Mindset of a Future Billionaire. The most important asset you'll ever have is between your ears. When Felix Dennis began his journey, he had almost nothing going for him on paper. No business degree, no rich relatives. Not even a steady job, but he had belief. If you don't truly believe you can be rich, no system, no course, no mentor, no strategy will help you. You'll self-sabotage before you even begin. He didn't just wish to be rich, he expected to be. And that made all the difference. He believed, not with arrogance, but with a stubborn conviction that he would figure it out. He wasn't born to win. He was just determined not to settle. The Comfort Trap. Why most people stay broke. Felix writes, "The enemy of wealth isn't poverty, it's comfort. Most people get just enough to be comfortable, and they stop pushing. He says if you don't have a fire in your belly, a little voice that says this isn't enough, you'll never leave mediocrity behind." He shares a story of a friend who had a great job in a bank, comfortable salary, benefits, a company car. That friend wanted to start his own firm, but never did. 20 years later, the friend was still in that same job. Older, slightly bitter, always talking about what he could have built. Comfort is the enemy that looks like a friend. The willingness to be uncomfortable. Daily use. At 27, Felix was running multiple magazines, but behind the scenes, 4 hours of sleep, lawsuits, stress and debt. Getting rich is not for the faint-hearted. It demands everything from you: energy, health, peace. He accepted this discomfort as the tuition fee for wealth. He was once hospitalized for exhaustion and still took phone calls from the hospital bed to close a deal. He says, "The world does not care if you are tired. It cares only if you deliver." He sacrificed balance to achieve dominance. Clarity of desire. Felix asks, do you want to be rich or do you want to look rich? Because chasing wealth for the wrong reasons will destroy you. But chasing freedom, independence, and control, that's a game worth playing. He talks about people who wore Rolexes while drowning in credit card debt. For him, real wealth was about never needing to look at the price tag, not to impress others, but to own your life. He says, "I never bought a Ferrari, not because I couldn't, but because I didn't need to prove anything." Part 2. Business and ownership. Job versus ownership. Felix's most repeated truth. You will never get rich working for someone else. He started with a martial arts magazine, Kung Fu Monthly. It wasn't glamorous, but it sold. And more importantly, he owned it. Ownership was wealth. Period. Even a small piece of a business you control is worth more than a big paycheck from someone else. Start small, but own it all. He began with 100 pounds and an idea. He printed issues by hand and delivered them himself. I would rather own 100% of a peanut than 1% of a watermelon. Avoid giving away control too early. Equity is power. Guard it. He tells a story of a startup he invested in later, where the founder had given away 60% of the company before reaching revenue. The founder ended up being fired from his own business. Felix saw that as a cardinal sin. Follow profit, not passion. Controversial but powerful. Don't follow your passion. Follow the money. Felix didn't love magazines. He loved independence. He spotted demand and moved fast. Passion came later. He says, get rich first, then you can afford to be passionate. His passion became poetry in his later life, once his fortune was secure. Stop planning, start acting. Most people fail before they start because they're always planning. Felix says, success comes to those who act, not those who wait. Start now, even if it's small, especially if it's small. He gives an example, a friend who wrote 5 different business plans and never launched any of them. Meanwhile, Felix just started printing paper and selling it on the street and learned more in 1 week than his friend did in 5 years. Part 3. Stories, Mistakes, and Legacy. Failure is expensive education. Felix once lost millions trying to start a record label, a complete disaster. But he says, failure isn't the end, it's just tuition. Every mistake taught him something that success never could. If you haven't failed yet, you haven't tried hard enough. He encourages readers to fail fast, learn faster. Betrayal in business. He once gave 49% of a magazine venture to a partner. Years later, that partner tried to oust him. Felix fought back, legally and emotionally. He won. But the lesson stuck. Protect control. Guard your vision. He said trust in business is overrated. Contracts matter more. A billionaire's regret. Despite building immense wealth, Felix spent his later years writing poetry and living alone. He admitted, if I could do it all again, I'd keep less and live more. He had no wife, no children, and he knew he had missed out. He warns, don't sacrifice love, health, or laughter for zeros in a bank account. Still, he says, if you choose the path of wealth, walk it fully. Don't half commit. Being rich is not about luck. It's about belief, ownership, and unstoppable action. So don't just scroll past this. Ask yourself, what am I waiting for? What small thing can I start today? Because getting rich is possible, but only if you're willing to pay the real price. Thanks for watching. Now go build something that's truly yours.